outside, sleet or cold, get Michelin wiper blades. They hug your windshield like Michelin tires hug the road. Get yours today on Amazon Prime. Maybe I'll get my act together here. By the way, I've got Sam Amick before the end of the hour, Eric Mangini last hour. I'm going to hold off on this for a little bit, but man, if I have to hear Giannis is going to run this league, 5-game losing streak in Milwaukee, and he's played all 5 games. You know who hasn't? Drew Holiday. He's not even the MVP for his own team. Drew Holiday is the most valuable Buck. He's not the most talented. We talked about this yesterday. Don't confuse talent with valuable. My wife is more valuable in the family. I, of course, am much more talented. But value is often misinterpreted. Is that Giannis is talented. They're in a 5-game losing streak, and they've lost to bad teams. Why? Because he's a talented player with absolute limitations who needs lots of help from somebody else running the show. Drew Holiday's out with COVID or COVID protocols. They can't win. So this is what I always talk about. Kevin Durant's great. Warriors won before him. Warriors now with Steph back and winning after him. The Nets have been on winning streaks. When he doesn't play, Kevin Durant's talented. Valuable? I'm not saying he doesn't have some value. It's not zero and a lot. But this Giannis thing has always been, we're always saying that he's going to be the next LeBron. He's going to be the face of the league. No, he's just a talented guy. There is no next LeBron. There is no next LeBron. He's the greatest player maybe ever, and certainly in the last 15 years. Everybody kept telling me every golfer was going to be Tiger Woods. There's one Tiger in the history of the planet. There'll never be another Tiger. There'll never be another guy that takes over a sport like golf for 10 years. There's never going to be another Serena. I'm not saying athletes don't get better, but when you get these once-in-a-lifetime athletes, there is no other Usain Bolt. It's not like some guy's going to clip a second off his time. Like, you just get these generational elite. You're not going to see it again. There is never going to be a Jordan. Jordan was a scorer. LeBron's much more about distribution and kind of engineering both sides of the ball. But there is no Jordan. Kobe was close, but he's no Jordan. There's never going to be another LeBron. So anytime Zion's not as good as LeBron. Giannis isn't close to it. Giannis can't shoot. Giannis shoots 82% within 3 feet. The minute he gets within 3 to 10 feet, he shoots 33%. That's his game. He's really good around the rim. Then it all dries up. He can't shoot free throws. He can't shoot threes. And I'm ranting. Alex Curry with the news.
No. Turn on the news. This is the Herd Line.
There's no next LeBron. Can we just stop saying that?
I'm with you on that one. We're going to get to LeBron in a second, but we're going to start with the big news that came yesterday. The Eagles traded away Carson Wentz, paving the way for Jalen Hurts to be the starting quarterback next season. But the job is not just going to be handed to him. Philadelphia reportedly plans to bring in competition for Hurts this offseason. Now, I'm all for a little healthy competition. I think it keeps people on their toes, keeps them from being lazy, keeps them working hard. But you just got out of kind of a messy quarterback situation, and the same day you come out and say this to your quarterback?
What is it saying? Is it saying Philadelphia overdrafted Jalen Hurts? You draft a quarterback in the second round, you're saying he's a franchise quarterback.
Yeah.
Now, you draft a quarterback in the 4th round, you're saying he's a project. But if you go in the second round and draft a quarterback, and by the second year you're not sure, you probably drafted the wrong guy because you're seeing him every day at practice. So to me it says, because I always thought he was a 3rd-round quarterback. I didn't think he was like a 2nd-round pick. So it tells me you overdrafted him. So you made the mistake of drafting him when you had Carson Wentz and puncturing his confidence, and now you overdrafted him and you don't really trust Jalen Hurts. So, I mean, you go find the last 10 years, quarterbacks drafted 1st, 2nd round. I mean, they had to pry Garoppolo away from Belichick. That was the highest he'd ever drafted a quarterback. Okay? So if you don't think Jalen Hurts is your quarterback, either overdrafted him or you're screwing up the quarterback room again.
I said it yesterday. You want to feel wanted. Everyone wants to feel wanted, especially the most important position on your team, a quarterback. And if they don't feel wanted, it messes with their confidence. He's a young guy. So it's going to be an interesting situation to see how that all plays out. But moving on to Anthony Davis, he will miss more time than the Lakers originally expected. Frank Vogel confirmed AD will be out 4 weeks after team doctors reevaluated his injuries last night. The team had hoped he would be able to return right after the All-Star break, but that timeline is now extended as the team looks to take a conservative approach in bringing him back. And I think this is smart. More often than not, we see athletes come back too soon and they re-injure themselves. Yes, it's hard not having your number 2 out there, but you still have LeBron playing, and it allows other guys on the team to step up and maybe step into new roles and get more minutes.
I mean, I just think Anthony Davis is the best 2 in the history of the league.
Yeah.
I've never felt you can rely on him. I think he's super talented. I don't think he has the personality, the drive, the toughness to be a 1. But we confuse that because he's so gifted. So we think he's a 1. James Harden, by the way, is a 2. He doesn't have the commitment. You can't rely on him. He's not going to play on the defensive end. Kyrie is a 2 or a 3. So we confuse. Oh, he's talented. He's a 1. No, LeBron's a 1. Chris Paul's a 1. Chris Paul doesn't have to be the most talented guy. He's a 1. Steph's a 1.
Yep.
And so Anthony Davis, to me, is I can't rely on him physically. I thought he had a bad year to start this year. Offensively, he was down in every category. So as long as your expectation with Anthony is he's a great 2, then it's all good. Then it's all good.
Well, let's talk about that number 1, because LeBron James reached another career milestone last night. With a free throw at the end of the first half, he became just the 3rd player in NBA history to score 35,000 points in his career. The only other players to hit that mark are Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Karl Malone, who are still ahead of him on the league's all-time scoring list. Now, I think this just adds to the legend that is LeBron James. And I feel lucky that we get to kind of sit back and have a front row seat to this. As you mentioned, this is a once-in-a-generation player.
Well, he's also really not known primarily as a scorer. Like, if you... LeBron's going to end up either the 1st or 2nd leading scorer in league history, and he's really known as more Magic Johnson. He's much more of a facilitator than he is a pure scorer. There was a stat years ago. My favorite LeBron stat ever is a high school stat. So LeBron James, his junior year of high school, and I'm not exact on the numbers, but he averaged something like as a junior in high school, 25 a game. And he went from 18 to 25. So you would think his senior year in high school, he averaged 40.
Yeah.
He averaged 1 point more. In high school, what does that tell you? LeBron's never been about just taking over a game and scoring all the points. He's always been a facilitator at his heart. That's the core of who he is. So, and all the way back to high school, he could have scored 40. It wasn't what he was about. And so the fact that he's going to end up the 1st or 2nd scorer, and it's not really his go-to, that's one of his greatest arguments as the greatest player. That would be like Michael Jordan finishing all-time number 1 or 2 in assists when Michael was a scorer, and say he also had the most assists in NBA history. You'd be like, that's not even really his thing. When you can dominate something that's not your thing. Jordan was a scorer, and that's where all his numbers lie. LeBron is a facilitator, and his offensive numbers from scoring blow everybody outside of Kareem away. It's incredible.
I love it.
Alex, for the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Lie News.
You know, I've been saying this for the last year. I'm over the Dak Prescott contract situation. Pay him or not. About a year ago, I kept bringing people on from Dallas, and they were like, "Oh, he's going to get the contract." And I said, "Listen, if you date somebody for 8 years and you don't commit to a marriage, you're probably not going to get married. Like, you're just making excuses now. Well, we can live together. We can hang out." At 8 years, you make up. My wife told me, listen, you get about an hour, make up your mind. She just said, it was like, listen, you got about 45 minutes or I'm out of here. So not that I'm not completely happy and wouldn't have done it anyway, but the point being is commit to something or not. So my thing always with Dak has been, if they wanted to pay him, they would have. They could have paid him 4 years ago. They could have paid him 3 years ago. They could have paid him last year. They won't. They're not paying him. And the latest story is they're a long way off. But Dallas has a little bit of a dilemma, because I was thinking about this morning with Carson Wentz going to the Colts. There are certain divisions where the quarterback play is so great, you have to really constantly evolve. Take the NFC West. I mean, good God. You got Kyler Murray, Matt Stafford, Garoppolo, and Russell Wilson. I mean, Kyler is, numbers-wise, the least impressive, but he's going into year 3, and he's no question a franchise quarterback. That's probably your best quarterback division. Give me another division. How about AFC West? Mahomes and Herbert are elite talents. Derek Carr's damn good. So 3 of the 4, you're like, that's why Denver is already rumored to be looking to move up. They have to. You can't have the 4th best quarterback in a division. So, nothing against Drew Lock, but Denver's like, look at our division. You've got the AFC South now. So Deshaun's still Houston. Carson Wentz now with the Colts. Trevor Lawrence is going to go to Jacksonville. And Tannehill. You got to keep up. If Tannehill's the worst quarterback in a division, that's a pretty good division. AFC North. Lamar Jackson's won 80% of his games. Burrow's clearly got it. Say what you want. Baker got to a playoff. Big Ben's the worst right now in that division, but he'll be okay early in the seasons. He old and deteriorates late. Then you go to the NFC East. It's a clown